here. With the holiday season in full swing, it is 2020. So, of course, I think we have to look at the BBC and how, of course, their advice on how you handle your curmudgeon uncle that likes to talk conspiracy theory, right? Because this is important. Of course, it's one of those things that you have to be able to handle those guys because they're completely unreasonable. You know, those people that believe in conspiracies. You know what I'm saying? So the BBC reports this. How should you talk to friends and relatives who believe conspiracy theories? Well, of course. I mean, there's got to be some ways to do it. Let's see what the BBC says about it. You're dreading the moment. As your uncle passes the roast potatoes, he casually mentions that a coronavirus vaccine will be used to inject microchips into our bodies to track us. And for those of you that don't believe that, I'm taking off from the article here. Just look up hydrogel, just as an aside, and maybe, Anyway, okay. And let's continue with the article. Or maybe it's that point when a friend, after a couple of pints, starts talking about how COVID-19 doesn't exist. Or when pudding is ruined, as a long-lost cousin starts spinning lurid tales about Aranon and elite Satanists eating babies. The recent rules changes have upended holiday plans for many of us, but you still may find yourself grappling with such situations over the next few days. Talking about not legitimate political questions and debates, but outlandish plots and fictions. Yeah, what's up, Noble Kalali? See there. This is what it is, right? So look at the way the language is framed in this article. Just first off, okay? You may find yourself grappling with such situations, not talking about legitimate political questions and debates, right? Of course, like this is exactly how they want it. They want it, right? This is gatekeeping, of course, with speech. Period. So, of course, right? Like I said in the beginning of the show, and I'll say as we continue, we're allowed to be wrong, aren't we? So if that's the case, and like I said, look up hydrogel, and maybe we'll talk about that on another show. We already did on Troubled Minds, which is the other podcast we do. But check it out. Like there's some legitimacy to a lot of these quote conspiracy theories, and it's curious to me that well, not really. I mean, it's par for the course at this point, right? I'm the tinfoil hat nutter conspiracy theorist that entertains the idea, right? And notice the difference when you say entertains the idea or buys this hook, line, and sinker, no matter what the conspiracy theory is. There's a gigantic difference, right? And there is a conversation there because this is real stuff. In many cases, this is real stuff. Okay, all right. So anyway, Aranon aside, and I say that because you're not allowed to say the actual thing from the article here. But here we go. So how do you talk to people about conspiracy theories without ruining Christmas? Because by golly, I'll tell you what, if you're a conspiracy theorist, if you want to think for yourself and not listen to CNN and Fox News, you are in danger, not only of murdering grandma for going home, of course. There's the first one, and I encourage you not to murder grandma. That's bad news. But second, for just the way you think, you may ruin Christmas. Wow. Just stacking it up here, aren't we? Let's see what the BBC says. Number one, keep calm. Make sure you just keep calm, right? It's important. While it's important to confront falsehoods, it's never useful if things end up in a flaming row. Quote, my number one rule would be not to spoil Christmas, says Mick West, author of Escaping the Rabbit Hole. Mick West is actually a debunker from the UFO community, which is pretty funny that he's cited in this article. Anyway, it continues, an angry, heated conversation will leave everyone feeling rubbish and further cement conspiracy beliefs. Psychologist Jovan Byford, a lecturer at the Open University, notes that conspiracy theories often have a strong emotional dimension. Quote, they are not just about right and wrong, he says, but underpinned by feelings of resentment, anger, and indignation over how the world works. Okay, so let me ask you, now this is me, this is not, we're breaking away from the article again. I want to make very clear on who says what here. Now, how on earth can you live in the world we live in today, listening to the rubbish they jam down our throats, the lies and all the BS, and not be resentful about the world we live in? There are many things, don't get me wrong, that we should be grateful for. And I never try and downplay those things. But as an informed citizen, don't you think it's important that we actually know what the hell's going on around us? And like I said, if we rely on what's his name? The dude from Fox News, Sean Hannity, or the Silver Fox, and Anderson Cooper from CNN. You think these clowns are going to tell us what we need to know? Of course not. Of course not. It's a ridiculous notion, all of this, but it's important. And we'll get to some of the reasons why as we continue to talk about this in the show today. But come on, really? Okay. Anyway, number 2, don't be dismissive, says the BBC article. All right. Don't be dismissive. Sure, fine, whatever. If that's how we're rolling, approach conversations with friends and family with empathy rather than ridicule, says Claire Wardle from The First Draft, a not-for-profit which fights misinformation. Isn't that rich? Shouldn't she be railing against the government? Anyway, continue quote, listen to what they have to say with patience. And there we go. Don't be dismissive. Have some patience. For us knuckleheads that might believe a hydrogel is real, or, any of these other things. So again, like I'm saying, I don't say you believe everything hook, line, and sinker, but I think your mind should be open to the information that's out there, and maybe a actual conversation can be had. Actually, I don't recommend bringing it up because you're going to ruin Christmas, guys. If we're being real. Here we go. Number 3, encourage critical thinking. That's even better. People who believe conspiracy theories often say, I do my own research. The problem is that their research tends to consist of watching fringe YouTube videos, following random people on Facebook, and cherry-picking evidence from biased Twitter accounts. Wow. Doesn't that sound like, I don't know, everybody on the left and everybody on the right? Like the largest collection of indoctrinated humans and probably the known world? I mean, well... I guess there is China and some other, Russia and some other ones, but, that's a damn lot of people, right? Yeah. Anyway, so, yeah. Cherry-picking evidence from biased Twitter accounts. Okay, but the spirit of doubt that pervades the conspiracy-minded internet is actually a key opening for rational thought, says Jovan Byford. Quote, many people who believe in conspiracy theories see themselves as healthy skeptics and self-taught researchers into complex issues, he says. Present this as something that, in principle, you value and share. Look at this. You literally have to set this up because conspiracy thinking people are so unreasonable, right? You have to have a strategy. Here we go. Number 4, ask questions. Fact checking is important, but it's often not the right approach when someone passionately believes in conspiracies. Questions are much more effective than assertions, experts say. Quote, focusing on the tactics and techniques used by people pushing disinformation is a more effective way of addressing these conversations than trying to debunk the information, Claire Wardle says. Think of general queries that encourage people to think about what they believe. For instance, are some of their beliefs contradictory? No. Beliefs can't be contradictory, can they? They can't be contradictory. Okay. Anyway, don't expect immediate results is number 5, and there you go. There's this article from the BBC. That's how you should talk to friends and relatives who believe in conspiracy theories, because, of course, the only truth and reality is from the mainstream media, okay? Because notice they call each other conspiracy theorists, right? The right calls the left and the left calls the right, the pot and the kettle, right? That whole thing. So, of course, if they're calling each other conspiracy theorists and you don't believe in either dogma, then you, yourself, they both hate. Well, I'm really talking about me. They hate me for sure. But maybe you, if you think about your own narratives and your own whatever. Anyway, if you use your brain in and of yourself, there we go. There's conspiracy theory for Christmas. Don't ruin Christmas, guys. Don't ruin Christmas. There's the advice from the BBC.